Hello and welcome to What's on Tap with Mayari. My name is Mayari and today I will be your guide for all things wine, beer, food, and the culture that brings it all together. And today we are going to be talking about value and label reading. So reading wine labels is extremely chaotic and difficult. And the goal of today is basically to help you be a better consumer, a better shopper, and really be able to pick bottles that are meeting your needs. And so we obviously have like different needs and different wants depending on the situation. Like maybe today you're supposed to be bringing a bottle as a gift, or maybe you're trying to look for something bubbly to make mimosas with, or I don't know. It depends. Every day is different. So I kind of wanted to go through a step-by-step, like internal questionnaire that you can ask yourself to make this a easier, better process. And also too, if you're thinking about dabbling in maybe storing some wines and trying to figure out like, how does this work? Is this a good wine? Do I have to spend, $300 a bottle to like make a good decision? So we're going to talk about it and I hope you guys get some good stuff out of it. All right. So first step is definitely determining what your value system is for the day of shopping. Is today a budget day? Are you trying to be in and out the store and not, spend over $20? That's cool. That obviously is going to make certain things easier for you and you kind of know what section to go to. Is today based on taste? Like, are you thinking, I really, really loved that Merlot I had at the restaurant and I want to find something like that? Are you thinking to yourself, I want something that I'm going to age, or I want something that's like a really like cool high-end gift to give to someone? All of these different things are like important to kind of have before you go into the wine store, because you'll definitely get overwhelmed. I know I do. They always have those really awesome displays with like the Jack Sparrow looking guy in the middle of the store with all the different chips and whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, never mind. I'm going to make margaritas. It's like, whoa, I came for this. So figuring that stuff before you go to the store would be great. And, that'll kind of determine what we're going to buy that day, right? So today I'm going to take you kind of through a journey of, I'm going to buy a bottle of wine that I want to age for a little bit, or I'm going to buy like a case of wine and I want to have wine that's going to taste good while it's like sitting in a basement, or, I'm just going to leave it and I'm going to buy my Christmas gifts early. I'm going to buy a case of wine. I'm giving it to everybody I know for Christmas this year. If you know me, you're getting a bottle of wine this year. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And I will sidestep and try to answer some questions along the way that might come up. So the first thing is determining what you want to drink that day, right? Where am I going? Is this for me or is this for someone else? To me, that's always the first question, because if it's for me, I have a different set of things that I'm looking for than if I'm buying it for someone else, right? So now we've decided we're going to buy this bottle for me because it's your life and you should buy all the things that you like. So here are two bottles that I have, and we're going to kind of go through like and compare and contrast them just so that hopefully you can understand like label reading a little bit better next time you're in the store, right? So I have two wines here. The first one is Velvet Moon. Ooh, sounds nice, right? It's a Cabernet California 2021. And then here, the next one we have is a Tempranillo, and it says 2019 on it. So the first thing I want to address is the grape style. Both of these wines just happen to say what kind of grape it is. For this one here, it's a Tempranillo. That's a grape. It's a Spanish grape. And this one here is a Cabernet, and it's coming from California. Now, sometimes you'll see a bottle of wine. A really popular one I see is like Apothic Red. It's really cool. It has this kind of like gothic aesthetic to it, and it's really cool and it's delicious. But it just says Apothic Red. It doesn't say like Cabernet on it. It doesn't say Merlot. It doesn't say anything on there. So that is telling me right now, this is a red blend. Red blends are delicious, especially if you think Cabernet's a little bit too strong and you want something that's a little bit softer, I highly, highly recommend red blends because they're normally blended with like a Merlot or a Pinot Noir, and it like softens it out and it's a lot more drinkable, right? So if you've decided, okay, I definitely know that I want a Cabernet, it's going to like lead you to a section in your wine store and there's going to be all of these different labels with all these things. Okay, so let's talk about Velvet Moon first, right? So Velvet Moon, great name. It sounds like a fun night out. And we have Cabernet California 2021. Okay, what this wine label is telling me first is the date 2021. This is the year that the grapes were harvested. This is the vintage. This is not the year that the wine was like put into a bottle. That's not what this is telling you. This is telling you the year that the grapes are harvested. So this becomes important when you are, maybe you are really looking to store wines or you're looking to gift a wine that is like a little bit more high end or whatever. This is important because the vintners are the grape growers and they're not necessarily the winemaker. And so the vintners can have a great year, meaning that like their harvest is really good, everything came out perfect the way it was supposed to, but that's totally separate than the winemaking process. A lot like a farmer could have a great year and they have all their crops coming out, but that really has nothing to do with you cooking it at home, right? There's kind of like there's a space in between. So what this date here is telling you is the vintage. This is the year that the grapes are harvested. All right, cool. Now, the next thing it's telling us is California. So this is letting us know all of the grapes are coming from California, which is great. But if you are looking to store a wine or you're looking for something specific, like you're looking for a Cabernet from California that is more fruity than dry, this is not very helpful for you as like the consumer because you don't know where these grapes came from. And so basically, when we are looking for where the grapes come from, what we're finding out is the flavor profile. So this is where things like terroir comes into play. And the terroir is something that establishes the flavor because of the soil and all the kind of growing conditions. So when it says California, this just means the grapes were taken from a whole bunch of different places, right? So like a chef in a restaurant is getting their oysters from here and their salmon from there, all to just make delicious food. Maybe the, exact kind of part of the ocean that it came from is not too important in this case. So if you're looking for just like a solid, decent Cabernet, this is perfect, right? It's coming from one place, it's going to be delicious. But if you're looking for really specific flavor profiles, you do want to start looking for something that says Sonoma, Napa Valley, Russian River. All of these things are letting you know, okay, now we're zooming more into the map and this is specifically where it's coming from. So that's Velvet Moon. And I'm going to move on to the next one now. Okay, so hopefully that helps you understand that a little bit more. So this next one has a lot more detail on it. You can see like the label has there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Then there's a lot of tiny writing in between like the vintage and like all down here. This all means something. And you can see here there's like more space. The reason is that this particular wine, so this is a Tempranillo. And a Tempranillo is a Spanish grape, so it comes from Spain, right? Now we have 2019, which means that's the year that the grapes were harvested. But now we have something in between here where on this bottle it said California. This bottle says crianza. And crianza means something very specific in Spanish winemaking, and it means that this wine has been aged for a minimum of 2 years, one of those years in an oak barrel. So I know that's a lot of information and, maybe like on your day-to-day, you're not really thinking about that. But this is important when it comes to, the flavor that you're looking for. If you know that you don't like oak-aged wine, right off the bat, because this says crianza here, you're like, oh, I'm not going to like this because it's an oak-aged wine. So this starts to be important, again, talking about flavor and talking about value. So in wine, what makes something more valuable is how specific we can get as to where this thing came from. It's kind of the same in beer. But basically, the more zoomed in you are, that equates more value. So just because this wine, it doesn't mean that it tastes bad, right? Taste and value are not the same. Those are two different things because everyone has a very different flavor profiles. Everyone has different, taste buds and all that other stuff. So these are very different. When we're talking about value, we are establishing like how much money this thing is going to be worth later on. That's like what we mean in winemaking. So here, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. I forgot what I was talking about.
About flavor.
I was talking about flavor.
Different taste buds and how oak age. This one is.
This was the oak age one, yeah. Oh my God, what was I? Where was I going? There was a point. I was trying to come back to it.
Oak age. You're saying that might.
Oh, we're more zoomed in.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So essentially, the more zoomed in we are on the map, the more value the bottle has. So when we're comparing these two, right, it's not so much that Cabernet is worth more than Tempranillo. That is like totally irrelevant. Rieslings, which are typically like really sweet wines, are actually, you can find like $1,000 bottles of Riesling. Again, depending on where they come from, the winemaking process, all of that kind of stuff, right? So here we are. So establishing value, right? So now here we have the crianza. So now automatically we know this bottle's been aged for 2 years, which is why we're able to find it in a store now. So even though the grapes were harvested in 2019, it was sitting, in an oak barrel. It was taking a nice little bath. It was getting ready to go in its bottle for 2 years. So that's why now you are seeing a 2019 bottle in the store, even though it's 2023. So now the next thing we have here, it says La Mancha, and then it says Denominación de Origen, right? So this is telling you like, this is the same as in French and Italian winemaking that have something like the DOC, or you might see DOG, that's the Italian one. They're exactly the same thing, just in their, respective languages. What this is telling you is that this is a protected area of land. This is a protected winemaking process. This is a product that we're really proud of. And so we've protected it with different laws and different standards to make sure that everything that we're exporting to you is tasting great. That's what that means. And so having this here is also letting us know that like this was made properly and it was also made in a specific area. In this case, it's La Mancha. This is like the region of the wine growing area that this was made from. All right. And so now obviously down here it has like all of these little seals of officiality, or all these little emblems and stuff like that. And it also has a serial number. So this is something that you can age if you want to. And aging doesn't have to be like super intense. Like it could just mean that you have it just in your basement, like, and you're like, I'm not gonna drink it for 3 years. Okay, cool, that's aging, So it's fun. It's not something super serious. You don't have to have a cave or like a creepy wine cellar in your house. Like it's all right. So yeah, that's kind of like a very, very 101 label reading. What is all this information here? What is this telling me? And if I spend $50 on it, is it actually worth more than something that's $10, right? Again, that all determines on what you're looking for. If you just want something that tastes great and, you want something that everyone is going to like at your dinner table, you don't have to spend $50. You don't have to spend, especially if, sometimes none of this stuff is really that important to you today. And that's okay. So if you're like, I want something sweet, or I want something that's going to taste great with my lamb, what do? I would just say stick to the wine varietals. So if you're like, I want to eat steak, I would say, cool. Are you having like a garlic steak, or are you having like butter, salt, and pepper steak? And then you're like, okay, I'm just doing butter, salt, and pepper, or I'm just putting it on the grill, olive oil, salt, pepper, whatever. Okay, cool. Get a Cabernet from South America, because those flavors are rich and meaty. And so that's going to match the intensity of like your grilled steak. But if you're like, I'm bringing red wine to a party, I would say just get a red blend, because it's going to meet everyone's needs, and it's probably going to taste really smooth and not be as astringent, aka it doesn't have too many tannins in it, right? So these are kind of the things that I would suggest for you guys to kind of keep in mind as you're doing your shopping to make great purchases, and also to kind of stay within your little universe here, you know? Like if you're like, I want something that tastes good, boom, and you know that you like Merlot, awesome. Look for red blends that have Merlot. Look for Merlots from different countries, right? And that's kind of you expanding your horizons and like picking up different profiles. All right, guys, so thank you so much for watching What's on Tap. And I hope you had a great time, and I hope you learned something that you can take with you the next time you are shopping. Bye.